Threes, two, one, go.
How
Oh,
how is everyone doing this fine Friday night? Yeah, guys. We're currently recording this on a Friday because even though this is a Wednesday wrap up of Thor, not of Thor, of
Thor.
Thor's brother, Loki.
Spoiler alert.
Thor's brother Loki. But again, before that, guys, I am one of your awesome hosts to the PS Comics podcast, PS Comics I Love You podcast, the only podcast of comic related origins, I guess you could say,
Sure, works for me. I
from
like it. I am mad at it.
the Coachella Valley here in the awesome. I guess I'm gonna be derivative when I say Coachella Valley again, but then yeah, I'm one of your hosts, Jared Kabakun, aka the Dark King, and to my left, right, bottom, somewhere in this origin, the one, the only.
I am coming to you live from the Red Room where this man survived Black Widow, the world premiere fan event in downtown Los Angeles, more like actually downtown Hollywood. Yes, that's right. The voice of reason went Hollywood this past week. I am rocking hey, us Kevin's got to stick together, so I'm going with the Feige look tonight. Going ball cap tonight. If for those of you watching on YouTube, if you're listening to us on all the other podcast platforms, I hope you're enjoying Apple Podcasts, Google, Anchor, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. Anyways, I am Kevin Pill, aka the Voice of Reason, at Voice of Reason 23, and yes, I am rocking the full Black Widow swag that we got from the fan event on Tuesday.
And someone's doing their flex pool early this week, huh?
Yeah. Oh, hold on. Hold up. That's right. Got the Black Widow bag. You can't see it because I'm right there. There were a pair of Black Widow socks. They're up in my room. Might rock them next on Friday the 9th. I have to say, we're going to find a way to do this. If we don't do a watch along reaction, we're going to try to figure it out that maybe JR gets to come over here to the undisclosed Shield location, aka the Red Room, for the next couple weeks. Maybe we do a full episode 52 watch along reaction video to Black Widow. Now that both my wife and I have seen it, if we don't, we're gonna find out a way for my homeboy over here to get to see it.
Yep.
On and around July 9th, so that on our last episode of season 1. Actually, is that right? Hold up. Oh, yes, it would be the last episode of season 1. We do a full maybe we do a reaction or at least a recap of Marvel Studios Black Widow. All I'm going to say about this movie, it was worth the wait. I know that was the big concern about it, was we've now waited officially 2 years since the last Marvel Studios full-length feature film, and this movie was supposed to come out in May of 2020. So we've waited an entire calendar year plus some, multiple release dates. You know, it was going to be May, then it was going to be July, then it was November, then it was December. It was going to be Christmas Day. They hinted at doing a premiere access, and then they're like, nope, we're going to do July of 2021. It's going to come out hell or high water. And I really think, you know, Fast and the Furious F9 did very well at the theaters last weekend. I've got high expectations for Black Widow. And
before we get actually into the main topic of today's episode, guys,
Loki,
quick question with you, man. How did you get invited, mofo?
How did I get invited?
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you. But this is by no stretch of the imagination an endorsement for the product, because they don't sponsor us. Heads up, though, head of Marvel Comics, if you want to sponsor this great podcast, we are open to negotiations. I have been a member after a lot of hemming and hawing, because I am a little tight with my money sometimes. I like some nice things. I like, you know, I buy a lot of comics and stuff like that. But I kind of hemmed and hawed about when I got back into comics in 2016, I hemmed and hawed about doing Marvel Unlimited. I looked into it, wasn't sure if it quite fit me. I was like, I like the idea, being able to access all of those digital comics. But when I first looked into it in 2016, the value wasn't there.
Hmm.
I waited. I decided around 2018 I was going to bite the bullet. Actually, I could tell you right now when I started becoming a member. I thought it was like 2018 or 2017. Let me see. Uh, I was August of 2017. I finally decided, you know what? They've started adding a lot more digital comics to the Marvel Unlimited platform. At this point, I was buying weekly books from the store, and I was downloading that little code
Hmm.
that's inside the book and doing the digital comic. So I went with Marvel Unlimited as kind of a backup plan to read some of those old books, so I didn't have to crack open some of my long boxes.
Yeah.
Long story short, Marvel Unlimited was how I got invited. I've been invited to two premieres and have attended two
Nice.
premieres. The first one was in 2019. I attended the premiere of season 3, episode 1 of Jessica Jones.
Right.
There, for the first time ever, I crossed paths with the only, another one of my namesakes. I crossed paths with Kevin Smith, and I was like, I wasn't feeling well that day, and so I didn't want to be like, I didn't want a total fanboy and be like, can I shake your hand, because I didn't want germs spreading, whatever. So I just said, I just like, fanboy. What do I say? What do I do with my hand? And I just went, hey Kevin, and he turns around. I'm like, love your films, dude. And he's like, oh, thanks, bro, blah, 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 and walked away. And he was there with his kid. He was there with Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Ran into, again, chase another rabbit real quick. Ran into him at Comic-Con in 2019. Actually, yeah, no, it was later that year.
Okay.
And told him, I said, hey, I ran into you at the Jessica Jones premiere. He goes, oh yeah, I wanted to go to that. It sounded so dope. How was it? So it was freaking killer. He goes, yeah, I was doing a little thing in the other studio, or in the other theater. So what were you doing? Oh, I was doing Godzilla King of the Monsters. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's a good trade-off.
Yeah.
Jessica Jones season premiere or Godzilla premiere. But got to meet him. He's like, oh yeah, dude, you should have stopped by. I would have given you a picture. I said, were you there with Harley? He goes, oh dude, the kid would have loved it too. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, damn it, could have got a picture with him and Harley Quinn.
Amen.
But no, that's what it was. I got an RSVP email a week before the premiere. I responded right away. Found out the Friday before that my wife and I were getting to go, and that's that.
That's crazy, man.
And again, not a sponsor, but a personal endorsement for Marvel Unlimited.
Okay.
If you're a comic book fan, if you want to be able to read golden and silver age books without having to crack open those long books,
Yep.
it is worth it. Do the 1 year prepaid. I think it's about $80-$90, which sounds like a lot of money, but for the amount of stuff you get,
Yeah.
you also get a box at the end of the year that includes a limited edition action figure, usually at least two exclusive variants to comic books. In some cases, it actually gives you an opportunity to have your name imprinted in the book. I know I got a couple of Iron Man books last year, including the blueprint variant of the Mark One.
Okay.
And so there's all kinds of cool stuff. And
Okay.
Marvel Unlimited. So.
That's enough promo for them for now, unless they pay us. So here's
Hell
that.
yeah. When
Unless they pay us. But yeah, overall, man, just it's for new and as well as old comic book fans that have grew up collecting comic books, man. Uh, these digital windows, these digital versions, man, of collecting comic books has been a godsend for a lot
oh
of us
yeah.
because granted, we being collectors, we definitely want to find the next thing that's going to be a hot grail or a modern grail or modern key, whatever have you. But you have to go through rifle through hundreds of comics, right, to possibly find the thing. Like, let's say for an example, we didn't know God Country was going to be a movie after it came out in 2016, right? We didn't know that God Country was going to be a thing for Donny
Oh
Cates, right?
no.
And then this is for me. I got maybe one or two copies, and then that was also in the space where oh, I just want to get a lot of image books, right? And so for every 15, 16, 17 image series I would collect, right, the one or two would be a hit. And not saying images, not saying that collecting multiple comics is a bad thing. It's just that you run out of space really freaking quick. So definitely these the new whole thing of getting access to basically a digital access to to this huge plethora of comics from both DC and Marvel, man. Granted, of course, there are two separate things, obviously.
Yeah. and the thing, yeah, and the nice thing about the DC version, for those who, just to chase this rabbit real quick,
Yeah.
if you want access to DC, actually it kind of helps you as an independent comic collector, because Marvel has their own platform with Marvel Unlimited, and their digital archive of books. But they Comixology, which is one of the largest digital comic retailers, has a Comixology Unlimited, which I believe also gives you Marvel, DC, and almost all the major independent books, but you don't get the added benefits of being a Marvel Unlimited user. There are additional benefits, percentage off on buying physical books from Marvel.com, other kind of exclusives. And again, this is not a paid advertisement at all. I'm just saying, this is if you're looking into, like JR said, but no, because like, okay,
wait, no, it's just hilarious. It's just hilarious to say there's not a paid advertisement. It says my dude with the Black Widow cap.
Oh, with the Black Widow hat, yeah.
But like,
no, this is a total flex, dude. This is a total flex.
It's fine. It's just like, absolutely, like the Comixology stuff, right? You get the comics, but you don't get the the goodie grab bags afterwards, right? From like that you'll get from your Marvel, your DC, right? If Image comes out with, if Image ever comes out with their own like subscription site, whatever, right? They'll have their own things too, which would be nice. It'll definitely.
I just don't see, because DC dropped theirs
finally
to side with Comixology.
Well,
and they're kind of bringing it back a little bit with Marvel, or sorry, with DC Unlimited. They call it it's something when DC Universe Unlimited, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have a version, but yeah, the Comixology, if you're just looking to read books, look into Comixology. It has all of the platforms. That's where I bought the guy that was the senator who passed away last year.
Oh yeah. Okay,
that's where I got his comic book, because it's really hard to find in print. So I bought it on Comixology and bought the digital version of it. So, anyways. There's so many cool opportunities. I got into it actually because I always wanted to see what was inside Action Comics #1, and that's one of the reasons I found these digital platforms. And since then, I've bought I've done some amazing Spider-Mans. I bought on the DC side, I bought Detective Comics 27. Action Comics #1, stuff like that. So
you basically gamut of like all the things to get per se. You're of course the keys that everyone wants per se. But again, guys, moving on to the main topic of the discussion. The main topic of this podcast right now is, of course, Loki. Episode 4. My friend, I finished it. I finished it twice.
I've only watched it the one time so far.
Only one time? It's definitely, when I watched it the first time, right? It was cool. Initial reaction, right? And the second time, of course, when reviewing it, you really want to dissect, right? And one of the main things, again, I'm just gonna kind of jump ahead, trying to kind of jump back and forth to a lot of things, but because it was a very theme heavy episode in the sense of like loving oneself.
That sounded dirty.
It does, but then here's the thing, right? It's the way that I'm just gonna go straight to it, right? This whole episode revolves around the two Lokis. Well, technically, Sylvie and our Loki, and main timeline-esque Loki, I guess.
L112. I can't remember what his freaking call sign is.
Something like that.
But for the sake of argument, because we have not seen anything other than like the Loki that we know, Tom Hiddleston Loki. We have not seen another version of another time period version. So
word just has him. So
when we refer to Loki, we're referring to
Loki
Tom Hiddleston 2012 Loki.
We'll call him Loki Prime for now when the show is depicted, right? And there's a reason why I'll call him Loki Prime. So for me, the first time watching, right, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people coming into this thinking like, oh, Loki is such a freaking narcissist that the only person he can love is himself. Because during the episode we see that Loki has some type of affection towards Sylvie.
Yeah.
Near the end of the end of what was Lamentus, with
Yeah.
this again, this very beautiful, horrific scene of a planet crashing into a moon, or I think the other way around. No, yeah, planet crashing
No, it
into a
was a planet crashing into a moon.
yeah. And so you see the huge chunks of planet crashing into it, and you just see both Sylvie and Loki having a moment, looking at the end of the world, and she, of course, talks about herself. She talks about her past. But before that, we actually see I guess a flashback of what happened, like what originally happened to this Sylvie was that she was Asgardian, and that she did hail from Asgard, and before, and when as a child, the TVA came in and announced her as a variant, and they took her from her home. And from what we saw in the very first episode of Prime Loki Prime, going through the TVA access of going through, all the sentences, all the words he said in his life, to him going through that detector, if he's a machine or not.
An
we see
android, yeah.
we see this child go through the same thing, and you are already want to side with her. Is a young child stripped from her family, you know given this cold mechanical role of, at this point, the TVA, and she just wants to, and she's told that she's a mistake. Her whole life's a mistake. You're not supposed to be there. You're not supposed to exist, type of thing, right? And so she escapes from there, and she's been on the run since. That is a crazy thing to say. And then she tells a story to Loki Prime, and Loki Prime, our Loki, is affectionate towards her. What kind of affection this is, we do not know. For me personally, I hope it's not a romantic affection, and I'll give you the reasons why. Throughout this whole episode, we see Loki Prime coming to the terms of, like, this self-actualization and self-realization of, like, oh, I've been a shitty person my whole entire life, and he constantly says that, like, he does these things, he does this mischief stuff for attention. He wants attention, and the only people that can give him attention, the only attention that he gets is through physical violence, and we'll get to that later, because there's a certain time, what do you call it, a time, not time warp, but like
A time paradox or time
time,
loop. Time loop.
time loop. Yeah, he gets stuck in the episode, which is an awesome callback to a certain individual.
Yeah.
We'll get to that person later. But you see then Loki Prime empathize with a version of himself. And a lot of people are saying that, oh, oh my God, I can't believe they're giving Tom Hiddleston a romance thing, right? For me, honestly, I think it's just Loki, the character, finally figuring out how to love himself, because he sees all of the things he wishes to redeem about himself in her.
Yeah, and at the same time, I don't. It kind of plays both sides.
Hmm.
You hook the oh women that like a romantic comedy, that like romance, stuff like that,
Hmm.
and you're gonna get it. You're gonna get them hooked that he's being on the surface. You're gonna get the people that are gonna go like, oh, he really loves her. Oh, and
Yeah.
then you're gonna get the people like yourself and I who go like, oh, he really loves her. AK, oh, he loves himself.
Yeah.
And that was the theme. Like JR nailed it right on the head. That was kind of the theme of the movie, was the show rather, was, yeah, it was, he is coming to grips with loving himself and loving what's good in him. Loki in the comic books and in the movies, very much so in the movies, obviously they've done a great job at playing both sides of the character Loki with Tom Hiddleston. Of, he is a villain in the comics. He's a bad guy.
Yeah.
But he always floats between being truly 100% evil
Yeah.
and and still being a caring person. He loves, at his core, I think he loves his brother.
Yep.
I think, I think he had a love-hate relationship with Odin. He definitely loved Frigga, his mother. And I think he got along with his friends, though I think that the Warriors 3 and Sif
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
more Thor's friends, that he got along with them, but he didn't
Yeah.
really have anybody that to care for.
Yeah.
And I think this was, yeah, he it was a best of both worlds. He found someone to care for, and at the same time realize he found the good in himself. He found, yeah, something to love in himself.
Yeah. There's a certain quote that comes to mind every time when I think of that particular case, right? When the relationship that I see with Sylvia and Loki is be the person who you needed when you grew up, when you're growing up. That's who I see. That's what
Yeah.
I see in my context. Again, it could change, right? Because like it could change the next episode because holy crap, this freaking episode itself just turned everything we thought we knew on its
Yes,
head.
it turned everything on its head. And right from the beginning, now, JR, let's go back. Let's rewind a little bit.
Sure.
We set the stage for kind of the theme for this episode.
Mhm.
Let's go from to the very beginning, I've hit play, and I'm about 5 minutes into the movie or into
Mhm.
the show. It's so hard to differentiate. I keep calling it a movie, and it's so cinematic. I mean,
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
guys that have created these shows, WandaVision, Falcon the Winter Soldier, and Loki,
Yeah.
now just did a fantastic job. We open up episode 4, which is titled "The Nexus Event,"
Yep.
and um, and that's also kind of the theme, and I think it ties into Wink what Jr. was just talking about with the love oneself,
Yeah.
love thy oneself. That's what I was talking about. We open up and we come over this mountain range, and you're like, what the hell? And almost to me, when I saw it, I was like, is this the opening of the Last Jedi?
Yeah.
It's coming over this mountain, and all of a sudden it comes over the cliff, and it's like, oh, it's Asgard. There's the Rainbow Bridge. You see Odin's castle, and then you see this small, probably about 8, 9, or 10-year-old girl. She's playing with little characters. She's talking about the Valkyrie and dragons and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, a little time portal opens up, and out comes Raven. What's her name?
Ah,
Ravenclaw. No,
yeah, no, it's like some awesome last thing, but basically the currently the head of or
the
the
TVA.
boss of Mobius right now. You can't say
Yes.
the but like yeah, the boss.
Anyway, two things, Jr. One,
Yeah,
your initial reaction to them coming to Asgard, because we didn't know where Sylvie came from.
mhm,
Sylvie does not like to be referred to as Loki. She's an obvious Loki variant,
yeah,
or is she? I think this answered this question, that she truly is a Loki variant.
mhm,
Um, and where she came up with the name Sylvie, I don't think they've explained. She just said she just likes
yeah,
the name.
yeah. She just likes the name.
But did you at all? Because I was thinking to myself, it was hinted at that we were going to get a kid Loki in this show? Were you at the time happy, upset, disappointed with that this could be, quote, kid Loki? Like, this was like a cop out pick, almost, kind of like.
Honestly, the first and even the second time going through, I didn't think about that, right? Because the depiction of my kid Loki in my head, right, was very much was very much the young brother version of Thor, where Thor was already the adult. He was already much old. He was a Thor that we know. And the version of my kid Loki is that he's the Loki that came after technically dying the first time,
Yeah.
right? Or whatever time it was. And then he, becomes reincarnated into a child. And so I never really thought that through in a sense when I saw Sylvie as a child, because I just imagined her already as Sylvie. She's just Sylvie for me now, right? She's
Yeah.
not Kid Loki. It, and I will say I did not think about that and did not come to mind specifically because of what happens later on in the episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, first time seeing it, man, I'm like, damn, like that's you want a motive. That's a motive. You want a motive for wanting to destroy, the TVA, right? That's a huge motive. Like when you're deemed as a child to say, oh, you're not meant to exist.
Yeah, it's tough. We don't know especially with what we know now at the end of
Yeah.
this episode, which we'll get to. But anyway, so the episode goes on. This girl's got a little fire in her. She steals the temp pod from oh gosh, I can't think of her
Ravona.
name now.
I just got her name.
Ravona.
Renslayer. Yeah, Ravona.
Renslayer. There we go.
Yeah.
So and of course that she fast forwards to present day, and we get these golden elevator doors open up. We see this red glow. Are we going to see the timekeepers for the first time? Renslayer walks into the kind of throne room of the timekeepers. Are we going to see it? Are we going to see it? Are we going to see it? And we get a little hint of them, the shadowy, and then of course Loki title screen. So we know something. To me, something a little sinister was being felt in this episode right from the get go. You have Renslayer who goes and steals a child from Asgard, brings her to the TVA. Why, we don't know. The other thing too about this show, and we finally get to see Mobius again, by the way. I know a lot of people were happy because they needed their Owen Wilson fix. Has this made you, because we had the first hinting of the multiverse hinted with Peter Parker and Mysterio in Far From Home. We know that ended up being kind of a falsehood because it really wasn't from an alternative Earth, but the idea of the multiverse is out there. Peter Parker knows about the theory behind a multiverse. Obviously, it was burst wide open at the ending of WandaVision, with Wanda learning dark magic for the Darkhold and stuff like that. And it's obviously kind of hinted at that. Obviously, you have Doctor Strange 2 in the Multiverse of Madness, and then we have the idea of possibly the multiverse being opened up in Spider-Man. But it from the get-go with this show, we're all excited. We're all excited about the multiverse. But from the get-go, this show has made it seem like the multiverse is bad, and it only happens when bad things happen, and stuff like that. So you kind of go like, what was cool about this show was it makes you start to think about, is the TVA all a lie? Is there a sacred timeline? Is there this Sylvie? She was plucked from Asgard. It didn't looks like she was being mischievous. It looked like she belonged there. She was just a girl Loki sitting in Odin's castle, being Loki.
It was interesting because this whole, from that point on, right, I think within like part of the last episode to this episode, the whole episode here, it went from this very buddy cop drama to like to a cat and mouse type of like Carmen Sandiego type of thing, and then now it's this not political thriller, but like very much in this field now of like, oh, it's espionage type of thing, right? Like government espionage, what is trying to be covered up and all that stuff. And so I didn't expect that. I somewhat thought that, all right, they're gonna unveil something sinister of the TVA, but to the extent that they did it as to right now, especially with all the things they threw you in a loop for, I wasn't expecting it. I was pleasantly surprised from how everything was handled. Because let's say, well, I had a point when you
sorry,
no, I had a don't worry about it. I had a point where it was particularly with, oh, there you go. When they go back to Sylvie and to Loki, and they have this moment where, like, again, it reminds me of I was gonna say, I was gonna transition, or not, I was gonna compare the relationship with Sylvie and Loki to very much of Jyn Erso and what's his name from Rogue One.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Him though, right? Where it's not, it's a friendship, right? And I'm so glad it didn't turn out to be some cheesy romance, where it was just a at the end of the movie, where of course we see the Death Star gonna blow up the place they're in, right? And to me, it reminded me of that. Like, they were gonna probably, be at the end of the world, right? This is probably where they thought they were gonna die. And then there is this Nexus event happening, and he's just the fastest one to go straight up, right? They have never seen that happen with the TVA. And I like that happened because it's crazy to think that the first time that has happened in TVA is because of Loki, two Lokis, right? And we see Mobius come in and they shuttled them away. They gave out the gates, and we have both Lokis now captured by the TVA. Again, I wonder if how many Nexus events have taken place specifically at the hands of a Loki. I wonder.
Hmm. It would make sense that um if there's anybody in the vast multiverse, it would be Loki that would create
Some
would create
level of
Nexus
chaos.
events
Yeah, man.
that would create chaos.
Yeah. But going on to the next scene, man, because we have again the buddies, not the frenemies, back together, Mobius and Loki, and they are put in a precarious position, man. How do you feel of their relationship, their working relationship at this point, specifically with all the espionage towards one another, the lies, deceits,
You
and the
talking
establishment,
about you talking about Sylvie and Loki, or
Mobius and Loki?
um I don't think there's lies and deceit from Mobius. I genuinely think that Mobius as a character, I think he keeps some things close to the vest, but um I think he's being honest with Loki, and he just feels that I think that when there's the uneasiness, I think it's because he feels he's being kind of lied to.
Mm.
Um and I I don't think there's anything devious about Mobius. I think he's almost kind of a gee golly shucks kind of guy. So I don't know. I don't think there's a bad goal. Now we do get the better real quick because I'm at the scene. We do finally find out how Loki and Sylvie get off of Lamentus One, and that is their interaction with one another on Lamentus One creates a spike
Yep.
Nexus event, and it draws attention to the TVA. They're able to go in and find them, pull them out just before the planet destroys the moon of Lamentus One. They go through the little time portals,
Mhm.
and they go back to the TVA where they're immediately arrested. Of course,
Mhm.
in grand Loki fashion, he's pissed off that Sylvie gets
As
4
one.
guards and he only gets 2. He's like, really? Which I thought was a very, again, a good, going back to you, JR,
Mhm.
in that this episode, though, even though the show is called Loki, that this particular episode centers on self-love. And again, I know sounds dirty. It's meant, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's loving thy one self or whatever.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if I think we've already crossed it. There was something that was spoken about between Mobius and Renslayer. And that is, he talks about the type of people that were brought to the TVA. He specifically mentions 3 types of people. We've brought in, I'm trying to do my best Owen Wilson. We've bought Kree, we've bought Titans, we've bought vampires. Oh, kind of opened up a little Pandora's box there, that the TVA is dealt with variants. At least that's what that Mobius is telling us. They've dealt with variants of Kree, which is one of the dickish group of people on in the universe that we've met so far. Titans, which of course is, what's it called? The Mad Titan, Thanos. And
Thanos.
then vampires. First time we have ever had the idea of a of a vampire mentioned in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, setting up for your boy Blade.
Of course.
So do just to go back to that real quick, and then we'll get to back to your point, and I'll let you take this. What did you catch that the first time or the second time?
Absolutely. It was a very much Actually, where do I go from there? Yeah, I caught that immediately. Like, all right, cool. So because I would just like to think that it would be crazy for the TVA to take down a Thanos, or even not Thanos, like Thanos's his people before he in comic continuity destroyed them.
Yeah.
And but like that'd be just crazy to think about, where the TVA is so strong up to this point that they took on the Mad King and won multiple times. That's insane to me. That is absolutely insane to me. But yeah, the vampire scenario, right? I'm thinking like, all right, cool. It was inevitable. It was inevitable, and I'm glad they put it out. I'm hoping that we would see a bigger show of it eventually, somewhere down the line, because you know how Marvel does it. You know how Kevin Feige does it. He likes to sprinkle stuff around, and then
Mm-hmm.
like 2-3 years from now, boom, just
Boom.
explodes. Y'all remember this thing? And then like you have freaking Mahershala Ali out of nowhere already in full costume. I'm like, oh snap, that's right, we have this. And that was a cool thing. That was a cool thing to understand. The one thing actually within that conversation that was a big pivotal point for me on the episode, for Mobius specifically, is when he asked for the hunter, the captain.
Hunter C-120, I think it is.
I think so.
Hunter C-20. Hunter
Hunter
C-20. Yeah.
C-20, yeah. And where he asked like what happened to her, and like the and Ravona's like, oh, she died. Her mind just went crazy, right? She is it was hard to bring her back from the brink, type of thing, right? And oh, I gotta say, Owen Wilson again is an amazing get, because
Oh yeah.
the acting that he did in just that scene, where he's like, okay, but unsure without actually saying it, got me like, all right, cool. The gears are really kicking his head. Like, I'm gonna trust you because we've been together forever, quote unquote. But I'm gonna make sure real quick. And I gotta say, man, specifically in Loki, the one thing in this series, the one thing I noticed is that they do a lot of like physical acting, in the sense of like a body language, in the sense of like how the position of Loki's shoulder, have if he's accepting of another person, people around him, the interplay of body language between him and Mobius, man, it is, for me as a fan of acting in general, it was like, oh snap, I didn't catch that the first couple of times, man. And then it wasn't until like I was looking for this stuff specifically, and how body language works and how they really want to interact with another. Because the one thing I noticed too, specifically with Loki, is that every time he lies, right, he has his chest up.
Yeah.
Chest up, he's open, and every time he's actually honest, he's cowering to a certain extent. You can kind of, it's very minute, but like the more you watch, you're like, ah, damn, Tom Hiddleston is freaking good. He is
He is
really
very
good,
good.
really really good. And so it's like one of those things, like I just noticed, because like, oh snap, they are really trying to play on this. And again, Owen Wilson, man, I hope this man is a long running thing. I hope he has a long stay in Marvel, because like we need more of him, right? Because
Absolutely.
it's Owen Wilson, but like we just need more of him. This type of serious acting, Owen Wilson, I love it.
I,
Anything?
I yeah, I think that I really hope they keep Hiddleston, because I think there is. I honestly think, people say like, what else can they do with the character? I think that they're proving this right here. Um, I think that, and I'm gonna hit play again, because we're at a, or actually I'll hit it just a second once I answer JR's question. Um, I still think that there's a lot of. I mean, you're dealing with a character who's been around since the 1960s,
Yeah.
and there is a half a century worth of content that you can do with Loki. I totally get that in main continuity in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he's dead. He's killed by the hands of Thanos
Yep.
in Infinity War. He's dead. Barring anything catastrophic that happens with Loki, um, this Loki, the
Mhm.
2012 Loki,
Mhm.
they can do something. Is he going to travel into the future and join his brother? Probably not. I think that would have, I think we've proven that point and other things that would just destroy the space-time continuum. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think there's other unique stories, and they've hinted at it for so long with the trailers for this show that Loki can. There's still so much left on the. There's so much stuff left in the tank
Yeah.
to do with this character, and you can have fun with variants. Maybe it doesn't have to necessarily be um it doesn't have to necessarily be Tom Hiddleston, though. Again, they need to keep him somehow, some way. Now, it should be noted too, by the way, one of two things I learned this past week. Number one, a lot. I can't say that. I'll say this way: Scarlett Johansson produced Black Widow, so she's getting into the producing game. And it does not take very long to realize that so is Tom Hiddleston. Tom Hiddleston is producing Loki, and it could be a no-show, a producer credit that his agent negotiated for him in his contract. It could very well be that, but it also could be, and it's been told time and time again by the director and the writers on the show, by guys like Owen Wilson and stuff like that, that Tom Hiddleston runs Loki boot camps. Like, he runs Loki school. That's what it is, Loki school. And he knows this character so well, backwards and forwards, that they'll find something for him to do. Heaven forbid he sneaks over to DC and ends up playing like the Joker or something like that. But
No. I mean, Tom Hiddleston at this point, man, he is definitely he has a high priority lockdown. Has to be, right? Because considering the fact that, like, even with logistics aside, man, like, how much money he's gonna be, quote unquote, asking for with his contract. This is the guy where you could honestly have your Doctor Who type series with, where, like, let's say, at the end of the series, whatever have you, he's head of the TBA or whatever type of faction that they might be afterwards. Let's say he overthrows stuff, and he's there to try to wrangle in his variants type of thing, right? Where you have this freaking TVA run by just Lokis, right? That'd be insane to think of. That's a possibility too. But, like, you have basically Prime Loki Prime running it, and I can see a lot of, like, scenarios where Loki could go in and out of any type of existence with all the powers of TBA, and possibly with Mobius, because to kind of go back to the episode, the relationship that Loki has with Mobius is very engaging.
oh
Where
yeah,
you have both sides wanting to be each other's friends and wanting to believe in each other. And I gotta say, the very first person to get through this version of Loki has been Mobius. He's just like, straight through your heart. Here's what we're gonna talk about. And when Mobius they go back to interrogation room, and he sits Loki down, and they just talk. They talk again. What was all this stuff? How do you figure it out? And of course, Loki's lying about saying that, oh, that that Sylvie, this version, the female version of Loki, came to him when she was a child and wanted to throw over the TB at a very young age, right? And Mobius, being Mobius and knowing Loki, knows he's lying because he has his chest out. He's very up and coming. The type of tone he has in his voice. Oh, he's lying, right? And he comes to the point where Loki says, okay, but where is she? And where is Sylvie? And Mobius goes, oh, we killed her. She's dead already. We pruned her, right? And I gotta say, this version of Loki, we haven't seen this type of, like, disgruntlement, right? Where we've seen him, of course, be sad and discouraged because he saw his whole life flash ahead of him, right? In the very first episode, but in this one, he finds someone that he, quote unquote, loves himself, basically, right?
yeah,
And Mobius senses that out, because we're going to the relationship type of angle here, where where Mobius goes, oh, you like her? What kind of, he like, you, of course, Loki, of course you fall for her, because you're that big of a narcissist to fall in love with yourself. And, like, that's a crazy thought to think of, right? Where the only person Loki could fall in love with in the entire universe, right? Romantically was himself, right? Where he actually look at that. Of course, he's gender fluid. He has been with both. He's been with all sides at that point. But for him to really care in the way that that is in the classical form of love is interesting to see, right? And
Yeah.
it's it's uh it's crazy to think that Mobius saw that, and they had this whole argument in Spiff. But I still feel, man, that when Mobius says like, "Oh, you can only love yourself," I feel like, yeah, he's trying to figure out how to love himself, because I feel like, man, Loki has been this tragic character who's been wanting to be seen, and not be in the shadow of his brother, not to be stuck in his brother into in the shadow of his brother, who is gonna be the king, who's gonna be all these things, and he just there, right? So I feel like, yeah, again, man, like this is a very much episode of Loki trying to be okay with loving himself, like really
Mhm.
accepting himself, right? Because again, the next scene we have to after that is that uh Mobius opens this first time we've seen a red door, and we have a bunch of the TVA agents kind of push him in, and uh before the TVA push him in, Loki tells Mobius the TVA is lying to you. They're lying to you.
Yeah, he comes clean about
Yeah.
the fact that they're all the TVA agents are variants
Yeah.
that were plucked from their own timeline.
Mhm.
Now, but JR mentioned it. He gets
Mhm.
pushed through a red door, and we're like, well, "What's this red door? It must be like some kind of jail or something like that."
Yeah.
Kinda. We get to see our first time loop, and that
Hmm.
is a jail cell that Loki gets put into. And who emerges for the first
Uh,
time since season one of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Jamie Alexander returns as Sif to the MCU. Could not be more excited to see
uh,
her back.
so
She is
happy.
so fabulous. She's
Oh yeah.
she's a great actress. She's funny. She's built to be a goddess.
Mhm.
To be someone from Asgard. And again, I'll be the guy. She's gorgeous. She's a beautiful woman. She's a tremendous actress who
Yep.
just kills this role. And I was though I was not a fan of the show, I was really disappointed that her show on NBC
Bright spot.
didn't do too well. Blind Spot. I wanted to see her it succeed because of her. I
Yeah.
watched it. It wasn't my cup of tea, but I was one of those things like I'll root for it. I'll
Yeah.
shake my pom poms for it, whatever, just because I like Jamie Alexander. I think she's a fantastic actress.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get to see our first time loop that this is a punishment that they TVA uses time as a punishment. And of course, Sif comes around and does this bit where
Yeah.
she basically beats the shit out of Loki because he cut her hair.
Yeah.
And again, and this was a real event from plucked from Loki's life,
Mhm.
where that
Mhm.
Loki 2012, did cut Sif's hair. He says, I thought it was funny. And then he finally admits, okay, I'm sorry. I was an asshole. I
Yeah.
thought it was funny. It was probably
Yeah.
a dick move for me to do.
Yeah. It was during that whole scene too, like I think he got kicked in the nuts or knee in the nuts, like I don't know how many times
Yeah,
at that point,
multiple times. Yeah.
multiple times, and he comes to a pivotal point where he's saying that I'm sorry, like I did it because I seek and crave attention and I don't want to be alone. And he was honest, man. I'm like, yeah, I
Yeah.
don't want to be alone. And we have a version of Sif after he's still on the ground, right? From all the times she need him in the she need him in the nuts, pick him up and say, "Don't worry about it. You'll always be alone," or something harsh like that, right?
And then kicked him in the nuts again, I think.
I don't
I
think
can't
so.
remember. Oh.
She picked him and she just left, right? She left him there.
No, that's right. The time loop broke there because he finally admitted. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no. Actually, it kept on going, but then the next came over. That's when Mobius came in.
Mobius shows back up. Yeah,
But
that's right.
before Mobius coming in, um, a couple things happened. The other hunter, one of the main hunters that it was always on that was always that Loki was always on her bad side. I forgot the name of her. Well, I forgot her actual name, but is of course One of the very first hunters we see, she's I think a captain, right?
Yeah,
The very physically dominant African American woman. I forgot the
yeah.
name.
Now it's gonna bug me now.
Yeah, but then she was enchanted, of course, by Sylvie. And one of the things that was said within the episode is that she can't create memories. She could only work with what's already there, and that she unlocked a lot of memories. She unlocked something deep within this certain hunter, where the
Hunter B-15.
Hunter B-15, and she was dealing with it. She was trying to figure out what's going on, what's happening, and she goes to she enters Sylvie's interrogation room, and they go back to the Kansas apocalypse, if I remember correctly, right?
Alabama.
Oh, yeah, they go to the Alabama, the Alabama apocalypse that happened in episode 2, and she asks him, and of course this hunter asked her like, "What do you do to her?" And she basically explains like, I just tapped into memories you already had, and told her like, "Yeah, you're all variants. You guys had a life before this. You were
Yes.
plucked from TVA, and so you guys had a life. You really did." And she unlocked all her memories and figured out what do we do next. And I think before or after that conversation, Mobius goes back into after the conversation he had before throwing Loki Prime into the time loop. He goes back to Renslayer, goes to her office. They sign off on the documents they need to do, right? And they have this long conversation of just like what did she do? It was always him and her, and that they are friends. They're truly friends. They have working relationship together, and that it's always been these two. And Mobius gives her the dagger of Loki and said, we're gonna put this trophy now. She goes out, she places it in a certain thing, and he takes her, what's that thing called?
Tempad.
Her M-pad, right? He switches his M-pad for her M-pad, right? And I think before that, actually, they have a conversation about like what he would do, if you can go anywhere in time, any place, anywhere in time, where would you go, right? And for those who remember, he Mobius always had this like memory or whatever of like going jet skiing somewhere in America, right? He's always thought of that, and it was a crazy little Chekhov's gun, not Chekhov's gun, but like it was a crazy little red herring that was placed out way early into the season, right? That some of us caught, but at the same time there wasn't enough information to really base it on, right? And so he kind of, when he was asked that question from her, he was like, "Oh, no, I just, I've always been here. I like working here." But he leaves, right? And then he sees what was in the MPAD. He sees that the Hunter B-20, was it? The A-B-20 or H-20?
Hunter C-20, which was
Hunter
the
C-20. Yeah, Hunter C-20. She basically lists everything out like, no, we were all variants. We had a life before this. He sees that, goes back, and he sees that and goes back to the time loop of Loki, and that's when that's when Loki pleads his heart out to to Lady Sif, and was denied that horribly. And then the next time loop before she comes back again, the time loop, Mobius comes out and says, "Oh snap, what do we do?" Like, yeah, everything you've been saying is actually right. Like, but how can I trust you? How can I trust a Loki? Like, no, how about you trust a friend, type of thing, right?
yeah.
So that was a cool thing to see, man. Just their relationship, man. I didn't think I would enjoy this relationship as much as I would have. I knew I would enjoy it, but like I want to see more of this. Like after this series. I want to see more of Loki and Mobius, Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston, because they really, really, really work well together. I gotta say, man. I gotta freaking say. But
I
after
will say
that,
that
go ahead.
this. There's a scene in here where Hunter B-15 gets out of her. Well, no, this is right before she meets with Sylvie, and she goes through the aforementioned kind of meeting of the mind. But there's a moment I just thought it was kind of interesting. This little tidbit was they keep looking at these posters throughout the TVA, and it's a picture like an old like 50s style kind of dragnet silhouette of a man drawn on these posters, these TVA posters. I did find this out, did a little research. the picture on those posters is a depiction of Mobius from the comic books.
Nice.
That was kind of an interesting little tidbit.
Yep. Nice.
As this particular episode goes along, one thing becomes very, very clear, again, based on what I'm watching it right now as it's going on, but JR just mentioned it about, Mobius stealing Ravona's TemPad, which is again the little phone for those of you keeping track at home, that kind of helps TVA agents access their stuff and also allows them to open up those little portals and move around the time stream. So we see in this scene, Mobius steals it, finds out about the truth about Hunter C20, yada yada yada. It is starting to become clear that Ravonna Renslayer is not who we think she is. We always knew that she is that boss. She is kind of a little high strung. Maybe she's trying to take the next step. She wants to move. She's one of those employees. I want to move up in the company. Yay. But this episode starts to make it become clear that maybe she can't be trusted, that there's more to her than just the ambitiousness of someone who wants to move up in the company. And we find that out. We find out that there's more to it through what Mobius finds out on that TemPad. That, like JR said, Hunter C20 lays out the truth, and it is kind of put on the kibosh, and we find out that it's done because Ravonna is the one that kind of puts the block on, and that's when Mobius's eyes are open that this woman that he kind of has, maybe he has a little affection for, is not who she's not who he thinks she is. And of course that leads us to obviously we're not quite there. Let me fast forward a little bit here.
That leads to basically
go ahead.
Both Mobius and Loki Prime coming back into the interrogation room, right, where they kind of try to hatch a plan by saying that what do we do, how do we do it, we'll think about it when we get the way. The second they enter back into the interrogation room, they are met with Ravonna and members of the TVA, more guards, right? And they have
they're referred to as Minutemen, I guess.
Yeah. And so they have conversation, and Mobius has that aha moment, like, this is what this is really about. And he has this monologue at the end of it, right? He goes, you asked me where did I want to go, if there's any place in time where I want to go. He goes, and I would have want to go to where I think I was before the TVA. I'm pretty sure I owned a jet ski. I'm pretty sure I was happy, all this stuff, right? And when he's having this monologue, that was the first we see our first drastic shift in the episode, in the series, where they prune and quote unquote kill Mobius. They took out one of the glow sticks basically, and they prune Mobius out of existence in front of Loki. And Loki at that time, right, he's probably in a wider range of emotions, because in the time frame of like him figuring out that Mobius is a friend, he's his friend.
The look that goes back to what JR said earlier in the episode about Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah.
The look on Loki's face, of pure fear, rage, but mostly it's scared. It's, imagine, heaven forbid, imagine like a friend being killed right in front of you. I mean, the look on Hiddleston's face is not what I expected, because Loki, the only time we've ever seen him show emotion was when Frigga died. And maybe, obviously, moving forward, when he died at the hands of Thanos, he showed maybe a little bit of emotion as he died. But this Loki, this particular Loki, has shown no remorse. Obviously, after the events of Avengers,
Yeah.
which is where this Loki kind of branches off. He
Mm.
shows that's where he shows emotion for his mother dying, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the look on Loki's face just says it all. That he genuinely cares for Mobius. He's his friend. He felt comfortable around him. But the other thing that was shocking about this is that Ravonna was so cold
Mm-hmm.
and calculated and cold-blooded in
Yeah.
her call to prune
Yeah.
Mobius that
Dangerous.
she can't even, and then in the show where she goes prune him, and just like that, like just a cold-hearted bitch.
Yeah, man. It
But
was.
then as they show,
Yeah.
sorry, they show Loki's reaction where he's almost instantly in tears, and they show Ravonna and she can't even look. It's like someone who, it's when, again, go back to it. It's like watching a friend get hurt, and she's like, God, like, oh, I can't watch. Like, oh, this hurts too much.
Yes.
So, is there maybe deep inside of her, we know maybe at this point, maybe Ravonna is the villain, but at the same time,
Don't
a lot
really
of
know.
sometimes a villain has a cold heart
Yeah. Don't really
or has
know.
a
But
warm heart, I should say.
I mean, it was crazy to see that. I feel like this Loki is probably the most well-rounded Loki we'll see, in the
Yeah,
sense, of like emotional acuity and just really kind of dealing with this new reality that's been right. So that's cool. That's different Loki that we've ever seen, and it's cool because like it's with the times, right? It's with the times, and we want to see more we want to see more of a well-rounded Loki, and great. I like to see that he lost a friend for
yeah,
now. Lost a friend for now, and they're the TVA agents as well as Ravonna. They're gonna take him to go be executed in front of the
timekeepers.
timekeepers, right? Oh, before we even forget that, one of the biggest things too when Mobius had that initial conversation with Ravonna is that yeah, timekeepers wanted both the variants executed, and they wanted you there, right? And so we're gonna finally meet the timekeepers, and then we see Ravonna, back from her little escapade back from the Alabama uh, apocalypse, right? And she's back in handcuffs. They enter the timekeeper's lair, I guess. Yeah, the timekeeper's lair. And we finally see a very first glimpse of the lizard people. The lizard people we see, they're in, three of them in cascading form of like chairs, whatever, right? And they basically said, yeah, you're gonna, oh, cool, execute him, blah, 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 all this stuff. And you have Sylvie there, you have Loki Prime there, you have Ravonna there, you have a bunch of timekeepers or a bunch of guards there, and of course we have Hunter. Was it a Hunter B-15? No, or is it
B-15. Yeah,
B-15? She comes in saving the day, uh, tosses them a blade, tosses Loki his blade. Right? They have a scuffle, a good scuffle, good fight. Two Lokis versus all TVA there. No, they have no contest, right?
no,
And then after Sylvie beats down Ravonna, right? So, or has Ravonna succumb to the beating. They go both Sylvie and both Loki go to the timekeepers, and just ask the question like, I think ask the question like, I think why do you exist, or whatever have you. I think I forgot the particular conversation. All I remember is that it was either Loki or Sylvie. Was it Sylvie that threw the knife?
yeah, throws the knife
Throws a knife,
uh at,
decapitates one of them,
yes,
and the reveal is that they're androids.
they're just nothing but androids. So they have this kind of laughing moment.
Yeah.
And as I'm watching it, they're just entering into the throne room, so we're seeing these strange creatures, these lizard people, as
Mm.
Loki likes to refer to them as. um and we don't know who voices them. The rumor is that it's Tom Hiddleston doing the voices.
Be nice.
a la Benedict Cumberbatch doing
Oh,
Dormammu.
yeah.
So going back, and I said we're Jared's got a little ahead, but that's fine. As I watch this, um, Sylvie throws the knife, decapitates the main timekeeper, um, revealing they're nothing but androids. They the other two kind of deprogram themselves and kind of go into like a sleep
Yep.
mode. And at that point, Loki wants to tell Sylvie something,
Yeah.
and it's believed that this is where what's it called, where Loki's going to essentially profess his love
Mm,
to Sylvie,
mm.
and just as he's about to, looks like he's going to lean in and kiss her, something something sparks right in his chest. Oh, it's his heart. It's grown 3 times too large. Nope. Coming from behind. We thought she was dead, but Ravonna Renslayer prunes
Yep.
Loki. Huh? The lead character, the producer of the show, the namesake of the program,
Yep.
has been killed. What in the blue hell is going on here? And by the way, some of these the fight scenes in this scene,
Yeah.
Loki with the two other Minutemen, Sylvie versus Ravonna was great. Um, and again, I thought it was an enjoyable fight scene, something that's been
I gotta
uh,
say, yeah, I gotta say for the actress who plays Sylvie, for a woman who just had a child,
Sophia Di Martino. By the
just
way, I am day after day, slowly but surely, Woman Crush Wednesday. She is
for
so
for a
talented.
for a woman who just had a child, who just gave birth, man, she's moving like she's you know she's about to do it, about to do like a triathlon or something. Her movements are really good. Granted, of course, there could be a possibility that they had a stunt double in there, but like the scenes where she was actually in there, you see her face, you see her movements there. She's looking great, man. She can pull off the physical. That's fine. That's great. That's great to see. But yes, we there's this great little interchange with both Loki, with Loki and Sylvie, where after Loki picks up the head of one of the android timekeepers, he goes, well, who's actually running the TVA then? Who's in charge of the TVA? And Sylvie is then of course just demoralized, like, okay, my whole goal was to kill the timekeepers. My whole goal was that. Now I don't know where to go anymore. And of course you see a different Loki. You see a Loki that is encouraging. He's like, no, 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 we're gonna get it. We're gonna find it out. Don't worry. Something I tell you. It felt like, yeah, like Loki was having this aha moment of himself. Like, oh, I'm hopefully trying to forget myself. They have a lot of these moments where like you see a lot of redeeming qualities in majority of the characters. Where I kind of want to go back to the Mobius scene, right, where Mobius finally found out like the truth, and he goes back to see Loki, and he after before they enter the portal back into the interrogation room, he says something along the lines of, after all this is done, man, you could be anything you want to be, anything, even someone good, right? I love that particular
Good
line.
line.
Yeah, he goes, like, I'm pretty sure no one told you that before, so I'd like to be the first. You could be someone good, and that smile again, the body language and the
Yeah.
physical acting from Tom Hiddleston, where he's most likely Loki has never heard that. Be good, right? You can be someone good, a hero to somebody, right? Great, cool, great to hear. And then we have the elevator scene with both Sylvie and Loki going into the timekeepers,
Yeah, I've
timekeepers.
been told not to call them Time Lords
Yeah,
because my wife, who's a Whovian, does
yeah,
not like me referring to the bad guys from Loki as Time Lords.
yeah,
And
yeah. But yeah, well, the before they enter the lair of the timekeepers, right? Sylvia asks Renslayer a question like, "What was her nexus point?" Right? What basically like there must be a reason why, there must be a reason why you wanted to kill me. There must be a reason, right? There was like this whole thing why I was so close to destroying the whole TVA. I just want to know why. What was my reason, right? And freaking being the bad bitch she is, Renslayer's like, I forgot. I forgot.
Yeah,
Right?
just straight up.
Yeah, I forgot. Right. But fast forwarding it, Loki Prime gets pruned. Sylvie's in distress, takes her down, uh, handles back the pruning device, right, with the sharp end onto Renslayer's neck, and Renslayer goes, "Just do it, kill me." And Sylvie goes, "No, you're gonna tell me everything," and that's where the episode semi ends. And I thought that was it, bro. I'm like, oh wow, how the hell we're gonna go through this, right? Of course, I
So
checked the time, and it was a 40-minute episode, like 40-ish minute, right? But we're
yeah,
we're like a minute, like 30, like 31, 32. I'm like, what the heck? This is
and there was when the episode ends,
yeah,
and I'm on it right now. There's about 5.5 minutes left
yeah,
in the episode on Disney
yeah.
Plus. So wait a
So
minute, there's not that much credits.
yeah, so this is the first time, right, in this series, or actually, I think no, in this series, that there has been an after credit scene
Yes, and
where go ahead. You want to do it or
I was
me?
and it picks up. I'm
And
at
it
it
picks
right now, so I'm gonna
and it
hit
picks
play,
yeah.
and all of a sudden it's Loki, and we're going. Wait a minute, we just saw him die.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell's going on? Hit play, and he's breathing. He's kind of coming to. He realizes, wait a minute, I'm dead.
Mm-hmm.
And
Fine
is
hell.
this hell? Which
Yeah.
was with one L, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "Am I dead?" And the voice says, "No, not yet." Wait, what? And he kind of sits up. He's like, "What? Who said that voice?" And before us, is not one, not two, not three, but four Loki variants
Mm-hmm.
standing before a what looks to be a disheveled New York City.
Yep.
We see Avengers Tower off to the right. We see again a bunch of buildings. Um, what we see though is we see a older gentleman, probably looks like he's in his 60s, late 60s, in a classic
Classical Loki
1960s, 1970s Loki costume with the gigantic,
horn.
exaggerated horns coming from the beginning, the very green and yellow costume.
Mm-hmm.
We see a almost Thor-esque African American guy who's in a green, almost kind of a Thor costume,
Mm-hmm.
wielding a hammer that is not quite Mjolnir, but he looks like Loki. No horns, no horns on his head. We then see an alligator with Loki horns, but
Yep.
being held by, you guessed it, if you've been following this show since from the first moments, a teenager, probably looks like about 12, 13, 14 years old, got the little like Loki hat with the little itty bitty horns on it, kind of doing like the "what's up, dude? What's up, brah? Let's go play some Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4 on my PS5."
Oh God,
It
no.
is Kid Loki
Yes.
holding Croc Loki.
Yep.
And Let's play again, and they're looking kind of badass. And boom, theme music hits. We get our first mid-credit scene of the series, much too much in the theme of WandaVision and Falcon the Winter Soldier. It's the last few episodes we start to get these mid-credit scenes. I think it was episode 4 of Falcon the Winter Soldier that we got our first mid-credit scene. I think
Yep.
WandaVision was, because that was not a 6 episode series. That was
8, I think.
8. So
Yeah.
I think it was like 4. It was somewhere in there, like, well, I guess technically we got a, no, we didn't get an end credit scene in episode 1. That was just part of the episode.
Yeah.
But I think there was like an end credit scene.
Man,
I
I
think
just
that was like episode 4 or 5.
yeah, I just
Uh,
forgot when exactly too. But yeah,
but
just
that's how it ends. Jared, real quick, closing this thing out. What was your reaction? Like, overall, what do you think of this show?
was good.
This particular episode?
Check the episode was great. Really good, really good. It had a deal like of course I'm pretty sure we've said this thing before with the other series. This is has been a reoccurring theme and obvious like um take on mental health, right? Throughout all of the series, right? Specifically with like one, with Wanda Vision dealing with the grief, um, with Falcon Winter Soldier dealing with the trauma of your past, and with Loki dealing with self love or the lack of self love, right? And this particular episode has been really, really freaking good. Like I enjoyed the hell out of it. It had a lot more depth than the last couple episodes,
Yes.
which really, really enjoyed. It had a lot more character moments that I really, really appreciate because of just the fact that like you're able to see a certain form of self actualization from all the characters, right? Except of course the quote unquote big bads of the series, right? And one, it's just great for me to see if we can see Kid Loki in in live action form, man. I was kind of hoping that he would have the whole tight type of thing where like his whole head was banded in, right? But hey, man, you get what you get. And for those who you don't know who Kid Loki is, man, like this kid is freaking awesome, man. I remember reading him up so many years ago, man. I was hoping this version of Loki would happen. I'm hoping this version of Loki continues to be in the Marvel MCU. I'm hoping that I'm really hoping that some version of Thor, right, or even Tom, or even freaking the main MCU Thor can team up with this kid Loki,
Sure.
because for me, man, some of the greater moments from my version, from me reading Thor with Kid Loki, was just how the brother dynamic changed so swiftly. It was very much how before Thor always wanted to beat down his brother, right? Because he was the evil trickster, and
Yeah.
in that point of the series, right, or that point of the comics lifeline, yeah, Loki has always been the bad guy. Now we have a version of Kid Loki where you still have all that animosity put onto him, but he's a child. And Thor trying to be a really good brother, like, no, he's my kid brother. You can't blame a child for the sins of things they have yet to
Yeah.
do. And so you see this great interplay between the two. And I'm hoping that could have some form or fashion within the future of MCU. Don't know how that's gonna play out because I don't think we'll have Chris Hemsworth, be in a something an offshoot with a kid Loki. It'd be great to see because I'm pretty sure he'd be down for anything. But like, just I'm pretty sure all the major plans for Chris Hemsworth is to do the bigger Thor movies and bigger Avengers movies, man. But like, yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of this episode, man. It's it really surprised me considering, and I've as a fan, I really had to take a step back because, again, I was trying to compare this to WandaVision and to Captain, and to Falcon the Winter Soldier. When honestly, that's not the thing you should do. You should look at it for what it is, and for what it is, man, I enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it, dude. I cannot wait until the next, was it 4 more episodes? I think we have 4 more episodes left.
Oh, two.
2 episodes left. Oh
It's a
snap!
six.
Okay, so
As far as I know, it
all
is
right,
a six. Let me double check. I'm on IMDb right now. Let me get there real
that's right.
quick. But this is very much now. Here's the deal, okay? It is season one
Season one.
is listed as only
It is
six
six. It's only six.
episodes,
Yeah, it's only six.
but
So
it should be noted that this was before it even came out. It was leaked out that this is automatically going to be 2 seasons.
hmm.
They greenlit 2 seasons, and that the season
Oh,
two is tentatively scheduled for summer 2022. So we'll see, wait and see what happens. But again, 2 episodes left.
hmm.
Now, um, I'm gonna let me do a little side hustle here. Little research. I want to look something up because this might play into um a theory.
Okay.
Okay. Um, Tentatively scheduled for February of 2023 is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania,
Mhm.
um, which leads me into our question of the week for this particular show. Is we know now there are no timekeepers.
Mm.
So who in the blue hell is running the time variant association? Time variant,
Mhm.
the TVA.
Yep.
Who
TVA.
is running the TVA? There is a very, very popular fan theory out there right now, which I honestly think might end up coming to fruition, and that we will not find out the identity of the true head of the TVA until next year.
Mm.
That's why it's going to be 2 seasons. That we maybe it'll
Yeah.
get hinted at. I honestly, this is my personal opinion as we move closer to the
Mm.
end of season 1. This season is going to end on a cliffhanger
Yeah.
because that has not been done yet.
Yeah.
Yes, technically, Wanda reading the Darkhold, and that's how the series ended. I guess technically is a cliffhanger, but not really, because I think the show was kind of
Yeah.
wrapped up. Falcon
Mm.
the Winter Soldier was kind of wrapped up.
Mhm.
We haven't seen that traditional television cliffhanger. Oh, wait, what happened? Who shot JR? Not this JR. It's an old Dallas
Yeah.
reference.
Yeah.
We haven't seen that classic television cliffhanger. I have a feeling this season is going to end on a cliffhanger because of who I think. Now, JR, do you want to hear my opinion?
Go ahead.
I think I know who the head of the TVA is.
Does it start with a K?
It does.
Yeah, I've seen this one too.
There are two major fan theories. One is that the quote Loki Prime that JR is hinting at is not this Loki. Was it Loki or L1135 or
Mhm.
whatever variant they give this Loki from 2012. That there is a Loki Prime, and it's not the Loki that we saw killed at the hands of Thanos. That there is a end all Loki, and that he is the one running the TVA.
Hmm.
But the fan theory that is getting the most, and we'll end on this, and you can give us what you would think in the by if you're listening to us on audio, you can hit us up on our social media platforms. Search out PS Comics I Love You. On Twitter, it's
Mhm.
PS Comics I Love the letter U,
You.
or PS Comics I Love You at gmail.com. Let us know what your theory is. Or if you're watching on YouTube, put it in the comments below, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Hit the little ring bell, whatever.
Mhm.
But guys, this is the heavy, heavy fan favorite theory on who the head of the uh, Time Variance Association, or whatever it's called, and
Mhm.
that is the one, the only, the legendary Marvel villain, Kang the Conqueror,
Yep.
is the villain in this. Don't know if that's true. Maybe we'll find out. Maybe we won't. Maybe it's Ravonna. Who knows?
Wait, yeah. And I'll just add one small thing to that because I was hoping not to. I was trying to go into this thing without having any references back to comics past. There is a thing called the Timekeepers, and Kang was one of them.
Dun dun dun.
I'm pretty sure that theory's been out for a while now because people like to understand what it was and of course try to figure out where it was. There has been some theories too of like where the TVA actually is at too. We won't get into that one yet. But yeah, canonically, yeah, I'm pretty sure, yeah, Kang was one of the timekeepers. So there you go. There you
We
go,
will
guys.
have to wait and
Have to
see.
wait.
Thank you guys so much for spending your week a couple times a week with us. And thanks for uh, hanging out with us on these bonus episodes. I really enjoyed doing those. Don't forget, later on this week we will have our episode number 51. JR promises a ton of news and notes.
Oh my gosh, man. So
And I don't even know what we're going to do our main topic on. Maybe it just might be a wrap up of news and notes, unless something
Mhm.
massive happens between now and then.
I
But
know.
know this, episode 52, I really think at this point, it is going to be a heavy, heavy let us know too. So put us in the comments too. For episode 52, our final episode of season 1, let us know what you want us to do. Do you want us to do a review of Black Widow, or do you want us to wait until the beginning of season 2 and give people a chance to watch? I think with the ability, JR, people to watch this on Premiere Access, I think you're going to see a lot of people access this movie within the first 48 hours of its release, and I think we should be just fine to do a full review. So let us know in the comments below if you want us to do a full review of Black Widow for episode 52. Other than that, we will have episode 51 out for you next week. We will have Loki season or episode 5 and 6 to do over the next couple weeks. It's going to be a mad dash to the end of season 1 of PS Comics I Love You. And again, guys, thank you so much for sticking with us. He is JR Kambakungan, the Dark King, at also not JR Comics 42 on Instagram. I am the Voice of Reason at Voice of Reason 23 on all social media platforms. Kevin Pillow saying so long. Enjoy your weekend. And if we don't see you before, happy Independence Day to us Americans. It is the 4th of July. It is where we celebrate. America. For those of you who need a little history lesson, it's not the end. People go like, what do you Americans celebrate on the 4th of July? It's like, you didn't defeat the British, on the 4th of July. I'm like, no, it was close though. Actually, the end of the Revolutionary War was somewhere in September.
Yeah.
But it was like 1783. No, we celebrate the signing of the Declaration of Independence. We basically went, fuck you to the British. So, by the way, all of our friends in Great Britain, we love you.
And I will say too, just a shout out to my parents, because I got 2 reasons why to celebrate July the 4th. 1, because the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and 2, it's actually my parents' anniversary. They were married.
Oh, happy anniversary 4th, to the true king and queen of the Kambakungan dynasty. They are, I have not had the privilege of meeting either one of them, but I have heard nothing but glorious stories from both JR and Candace. I will say this, and be jealous out there, our listening audience. I have had the true privilege of having the deliciousness that is Mr. Kambakungan's food. A couple of years ago, he made the ribs. Oh
dude,
God.
He made all of it. Yeah, I think
that's right. He made the pancit as well.
He made the pancit. He made his specialties: the ribs, the pancit, barbecue, and there's a thing called igudo, which is basically it's beef. It's beef marinated in peas, red pepper, and something else with a broth in it too. So yeah, it's quite a family specialty. I intend to learn it and keep it in the family lineage for as long as I freaking can, man. So
that pancit, by the way, my gosh, by the way, just to break the rule in on this real quick, just tell a little food story. We had a house party probably about 2 years ago with all of us from the asylum, and it was a potluck style, and I was doing I can't remember what Danielle cooked, my wife, but she made a really fabulous meal, and JR brought pancit and his dad's ribs, and then we brought some fried chicken, which was made by a Filipino business owner in Rancho Mirage. So really good fried chicken with a little Filipino twist to it, so to speak. But we ate like kings that night. And JR brought such a huge platter of pancit, and he's like, I'm not taking it home, just keep it. And oh my gosh, pancit reheats well, and so good.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for supporting the show. Again, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can also listen to us: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor.fm, iHeartRadio, and Amazon. You can tell your little smart device to play PS Comics I Love You on the podcast platform. And also flip side, if you're listening to the audio and you want a more visual element, YouTube, PS Comics I Love You, or Voice of Reason 23. Search it out on YouTube. And and JR promises that sometime this year he's hoping to get a new computer so that he can add more content to the YouTube channel.
oh, believe me, I've been trying, my guy, man. Life happens. It sucks because I saved up money and then I figured out, oh crap, I need to buy 4 new tires.
Oh, the worst. The
Oh,
absolute worst.
it is, and then like I just had a like it's gonna cascade, man. But I'm thankful I got money in order to do it,
Yeah.
right? And nothing out of even though it's out of pocket. Like, okay, cool. You know, there's a thing happening right now. Buy 4 tires, get one free, and I think the big
Hell
deal.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so I'm like, I do that one and get like my brakes and all that stuff. So it's gonna take a little bit longer, but I'm getting there. I'm definitely getting there. I just gotta sell more stuff. So
Be on the lookout, guys. You're gonna catch some good deals at also Not JR Comics 42.
yeah, man. So yeah, definitely, guys. We are definitely going to be doing episode 52 sometime this week, man. We will definitely see you guys episode 52.
Well, episode 51 is this week, and then
51,
52 is a week from.
That's
Yeah.
right.
We
Oh
have
my
2 more
gosh.
episodes to go in season 1.
2 or 3 because we're gonna do next
We
week.
did episode 50.
Yeah.
51, 52.
No, but for
And
episode 5 of Loki though.
Oh, we do have 2 more episodes of Loki,
Yeah.
and so on the 7th and the 14th are the last 2 episodes of season 1 of Loki.
Yep.
And we'll record right around those dates.
Sure.
So yeah. Yeah, enjoy, guys. Have a great night. See ya. As always. Peace.
Oh man.